conveniently near the Metropolitan Museum.
Okay, so so the location and the proximity are ideal. When I was told that I got to interview today, I was initially shocked that there was actually a branch of academia specifically for art crime.
There's so many intersections between art and crime. I study forgery, fraud, repatriation, and art security, museum security. So I could teach you how to steal a masterpiece, but then I'd have to catch you.
Got it, got it. Have you ever seen the movie Entrapment with Catherine Zeta-Jones?
I have not, because I can't really stand to watch a lot of those big films about art heists because they
they're
all
so inaccurate.
assume the museums have fantastic security, and it's just not true.
Yeah,
Museum
the Thomas Crown Affair comes to mind, right? The Thomas Crown Affair. Yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is because in that movie, it's depicted, I mean, obviously it's fictitious based on what you just said, but she's in a museum, she needs to take something out of a display case, and she has to navigate around all these laser beams. Each one of them will set off the security alarms, and she does this whole elaborate choreography along with Sean Connery to get around those lasers. And based on what we know, Professor Thompson, so far about what happened at the Louvre on October 19th, it seems like these guys literally, or this crew, just literally took these things and hid in plain sight. What was your initial take on this, and how did you react when you heard about it?
I was surprised because they went to so much trouble. They got a cherry picker, essentially, and drove it up to the museum, raised up a ladder, climbed up, used an angle grinder to get through a window, hopped in. And I'm thinking, the museum's open. You can just buy a ticket like everybody else. That's what most thieves do who commit daytime smash and grabs, and then they just run out of the museum. I guess this way they did prepare a good escape route for themselves.
Yeah, well, what is your understanding? Because I've heard about the cherry picker, and then we've seen what looked like cell phone video of a man. It looks like he's a man in a safety vest. There it is right there. And this is believed to be one of the thieves here using what has been described to my knowledge as a mini chainsaw to get into that display box. What is your understanding of exactly how they pulled this off? Okay, because those are the only two elements that have been kind of widely publicized.
Sure. Well, a few years ago in Germany, thieves broke into a museum intending to take a display had over 2,500 Roman coins, gold coins, but they were foiled when they couldn't break the display case because the glass was too reinforced. So these thieves planned a little bit more ahead. You do need special equipment to get into those display cases. But my favorite is the high-vis vest. It's a perfect disguise. You can add a hard hat and you could get away with anything. Nobody's gonna ask what you're doing until you pull out the mini chainsaw in the museum gallery. That's a little suspicious.
So obviously someone was suspicious enough to roll on that, like, hey, How big of a feat is this?
Well, it's not actually that difficult to steal from a museum because where else can you go get within a few inches just anybody who buys a ticket of priceless historical artworks? You can't go into Fort Knox and get your nose 2 inches away from the gold. So museums have to allow access. They can't have armed guards breathing down your neck. The real difficulty when you steal something from display in a museum is making any money from it. And a lot of people who get caught having stolen something from a museum, painting, artwork, get arrested right away as soon as they try and sell it because you can't, sell the Mona Lisa without the art dealer saying, I'm going to go call the police. And there have been a rash in recent years of gold and gem encrusted objects being stolen from museums for the sake of their raw materials. And then sadly, those pieces are often melted down, recut, resold, and never recovered.
And that appears to be what is at play unfolding with regard to this particular crime here. All right, the clock is obviously ticking. We reported on the news this morning that there are like hundreds of investigators trying to track down this crew. What, to your knowledge, is probably unfolding here? Like, how important is the timing right now? And what happens to these jewels if they are not found soon, or are they already melted down?
Well, anybody can, in their garage, plug in a mini crucible and melt down gold. But the gems are harder to dispose of because the big recognizable gems in those crowns, that's too risky to sell right off. So they probably are finding a crooked gem cutter who will cut those down into smaller pieces. And that's a limited number of people in the world with those skills and that lack of honesty, so to speak. And that's our best hope of recovering these gems, is either that they'll be foiled in this quest to get someone to recut them down, or that one of the thieves will be apprehended and give up the location of the gems in return for leniency on their sentencing.
Wow.
So the French police are right now working with the DNA evidence on the objects they left behind. They're working with surveillance photos and cameras and trying to locate these guys.
How much does the value, because we reported on the news, I'm not sure if this is accurate, that because they were essentially in the hands of royalty at the time, some woman affiliated with Napoleon, one of the Napoleons, $100 million or something like that. When it's melted down and the rocks, like you said, maybe there's some sketchy person who can break these gemstones up into smaller pieces. How much is the value going to drop, if at all?
They'll be worth maybe a few million. So it's really a huge drop in value, but it's free money to the thieves, so I guess they don't really care.
What do you think is the likely outcome here? You're an expert in this. Do you think this crew is going to get away? Do you think history will prove to be kind of accurate here, in which you said that sometimes these thieves are caught up kind of after the crime itself? What do you foresee happening here?
In similar cases, the people who actually do the dirty work, who go into the museum, they're almost always hired to do the job. They're career thieves who are good at breaking into places, who are given a couple $1,000s to do it. They are almost always caught because of the exposure, because they're on surveillance camera, et cetera. Historically, it's been much more difficult to catch the upper level people, the people who've planned the heist. And historically, we have very, very rarely recovered any artifacts that have been stolen for the sake of their raw value. So, for example, a few years ago, a functioning toilet made out of 18-karat gold was stolen from Blenheim Palace. It was an artwork by the modern artist Maurizio Cattelan. Everybody involved in that heist was arrested, but the toilet had already been melted down and sold.
Oh, wow. Melted down gold from a toilet. That is pretty wild. I want to get your thoughts as well on just museum security in general. You said off the top of the show that it's actually not that hard to do this kind of thing. You're within inches of these priceless artifacts. Does museum security need to be bolstered, and will it be bolstered in the wake of an episode like this?
Well, a few months ago, the security guards at the Louvre went on strike because they said there just wasn't enough of them to deal with thousands and thousands of, tens of thousands of tourists a day. But it's a little hard to know what they could do better. The Louvre is a historical building. If you have a newly built museum, it just doesn't have big windows that you can climb in through right from the street. But they can't tear down the Louvre and start again. And there's been pointed out, there weren't security cameras in every gallery in this wing of the museum. But again, you can have the best security cameras and alarms in the world. They go off, they alert the police, but if the thieves are quick, then they'll get away before the police arrive. And on that note, the thieves spent 4 minutes inside the museum, which is actually pretty long for this type of theft. They should really have gotten that down to Rep 2. So I'm thinking they need a little bit. They do need to do more practice runs.
Professor Thompson is not impressed. No, I like it. What can you tell us about kind of the resale market, this black market perhaps, or how these thieves would, in theory, be able to make a profit off of this. Okay, so if they, presumably they do find this shady gemstone person that can break them up, how do they then go to market?
Well, then you can walk into any jeweler in the world, and most of them will buy gold by the ounce or loose gems. Some of them will ask you more questions about where you got this from, but you can always lie. You can say it was in your grandmother's attic. You can fake the paperwork showing a prior history. They don't even need to go into the black market for this sort of stuff. They can just disguise the source well enough to enter the legitimate market.
That is wild. So then it's all laundered and clean. Let me ask you this. Are there, I mean, there are some pretty eccentric billionaires out there. I mean, Elon Musk comes to mind, not that I'm implicating him in any way here on the air, but are there buyers out there with deep pockets who may just be eccentric enough to want a piece of history, an artifact, even if it is illegal?
Now, goodness knows we can't predict what a billionaire will or will not do, but historically we've never found any stolen art in the collection of, you know, a drug lord or a bajillionaire or a corrupt dictator, whatever. We found plenty of art in their collections, but it wasn't stolen art because you can't resell it. And you don't get to be a billionaire by throwing away money. So you know that you won't be able to resell stolen art, and usually it's not as attractive.
Okay. In the history, the pantheon of art thefts like this, you know, they get popularized in movies like The Thomas Crown Affair or Entrapment. How often do thieves like this who rob from museums get away with it?
Well, around half of artworks stolen from museums, so not gems, jewelry, artworks, about half are recovered. And that's about the percentage of the perpetrators that are also caught. So it's really not a good gamble, I would say.
Okay. All right. What grade would you give this crew?
Well, it depends. You know, we're only at the beginning stages. I really have to assess their full work in terms of getting away with it.
Okay. Okay, so we're like
incomplete for now.
Okay, so we don't you're not working with a full data set. I can respect that. It has been 72 hours. Okay, to my knowledge, I mean it's later in Paris right now. It's the evening there. 72 hours roughly, give or take. If they don't have anyone now, what is the outlook in terms of them finding someone here in the next few days or in the coming weeks?
Well, we don't know if they don't have anyone. Sometimes police will identify a good suspect and then just surveil them to see who are they calling, who are they visiting. Can we track down where the artifacts are if we don't immediately swoop in and arrest this person? So who knows? Fingers crossed. But if they don't identify somebody, if they don't find the artifacts soon, I think they're going to be melted down, even if the perpetrators are arrested weeks or months from now.
All right, you're a professor of art crime. I want to go back in time with you a little bit. Can you give us any examples of similar heist or an incident or historical theft that you were aware of that just kind of blew your mind?
Well, in 2015, another burglar broke into another museum in Paris, the Modern Art Museum, by unscrewing the window frame from the outside. So there's a security flaw. Don't have the screws on your window frames on the outside where burglars can get to them. And then he didn't set off any alarms once he went into the museum and snatched 6 paintings. Why? Because the newly installed alarm system was on the fritz and they had turned it off while waiting for replacement parts. So again, no need for Catherine Zeta-Zerons to be dancing around lasers if the security system is just turned off.
So that sounds to me like an inside job, right? Who would know? Right? That the security...
He knew because when he visited to scope out the museum, he's an art lover, so he liked to go to museums. He noticed that there's little lights on the infrared sensor boxes that are supposed to flash from green to red when you've broken the beam and gotten too close to an artwork. But they all just kept staying on green, and he thought, This is an interesting piece of information.
Interesting. Well, now, was that gentleman, I don't want to call him a gentleman, was that man caught?
Yes.
Okay.
His specialty was climbing up the facades of buildings to get into apartments. So his nickname in the French underworld was the Spider. So he served time in jail.
What a fascinating line of work that you are in. That is wild. Now, I have actually wondered myself. I go to the Art Institute from time to time here in Chicago, and you can get right up close to these paintings. And you know, they have security guards in the corners. They're kind of making sure everyone is, you know, they've got eyes on the room. But I always wonder, you know, is there a thin layer of fiberglass or something that I can't see? Could you just, you know, we do cover stories, protesters from time to time, these environmental protesters, they'll like deface priceless works of art. They'll spray paint a message, you know, about saving the environment on a priceless sculpture. But are there any protective measures, or are we literally, like, is there just air between us and these treasures?
Well, most paintings have varnish on them, and sculptures have protective waxes over them. So almost all of the protest modifications have been cleared off right away. When I go into the Art Institute, I notice that they have artworks from Nepal that were stolen from shrines and temples, and that Nepali people are asking to be repatriated. So museums, both victims and perpetrators of the trade in stolen art, I would say.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe we need to do a story about that and how this artwork needs to get returned back to its rightful owner. So, one more question for you, and I know we're going back to the movies here, but in the Thomas Crown affair, I remember one of the aspects of the security depicted in the museum there was, okay, the sprinkler system went off, and I remember these barriers came down from the ceilings to cover everything on the walls. Is that something just out of Hollywood, or does that exist, for example, at the Art Institute and other major museums?
Look, the Art Institute and almost all American museums depend on donations. And donors love to give money to buy the latest and greatest new artwork. Nobody likes to donate to replace the tapes and the security cameras. So American museums generally have aspirational security. There's a lot more making you think that it's more secure than it actually is. But still, don't take anything. You will get caught eventually once you try and sell it.
Okay, there's the bottom line. It's easier than it should be, but you will likely get caught. All right, Professor Erin Thompson with the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Thank you so much. That's absolutely fascinating. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, it is 10:19 back here in Chicago. Fun to have her from Manhattan. And we'll continue, obviously, to follow any developments with regard to the aftermath of this high-profile crime. We reported on the news today that there are literally hundreds of agents trying to track down members of this crew that pulled off this heist. All right, coming up for us, we have a national cybersecurity expert that is going to be joining us via Zoom. He is a former FBI counterintelligence operative who famously helped capture Robert Hanssen, who is known in those circles as the most damaging spy in U.S. history. And now he is out. Mr. O'Neill is out with a brand new book, which we are going to talk about after this short break.
Attention.
Welcome back. It is 10:22 on your Wednesday. We are waiting for a guest to join us. His name is Eric O'Neill, and he is one of the top cyber crime experts in the whole country. He's a former FBI counterintelligence operative. He famously helped capture Robert Hansen, who is the most damaging spy in U.S. history. So now he is turning his decades of insider expertise to one of today's biggest threats that affects all of us, cybercrime. He's got a new book out that we're going to talk about. And I will say, just in terms of cyber crimes, as a parent, I'm sure there are parents out there joining us this morning that are going to be curious to hear from this guy, just because every week it seems like we hear about the different avenues in which thieves are targeting children. I mean, obviously he's going to talk about the financial aspects of these crimes as well, especially as we gear up for the holiday season. But just this morning we were talking about the dangers of Roblox, which is a platform that's still kind of a head scratcher to me as a parent, because there's so many different games within the Roblox platform. But there are incidents that have been reported of late where child predators will start not only contacting young people, but also grooming them via platforms like that, which are just video game platforms, and that appears to be an on-ramp in many cases. So we're going to be speaking with him. Also, a little bit later, Jake's going to be joining me here in a moment. The Sound of Music, yeah, he's already celebrating. He gets to hang out with me, which is you know, the short straw in these parts. The Sound of Music is going to be coming to life. Live theater at the Nederlander. This is, it's going to land at the Nederlander in just a couple of weeks on November 2nd. So Jake and I are going to be joined in studio here in just a moment by a couple of the actors, one of whom is playing Elsa, and another of whom is playing one of the main lead male parts in that production. So can't wait to talk to them about that. And again, we are going to be talking cyber crime in just a moment. We're hoping to get Eric O'Neill on the line in just a moment as we take a look at the bean outside. It's a little cloudy out there. As you can see, it doesn't stop a couple of tourists from being out there. Is there a man inside that bean? That's always the big question. All right, we're going to be joined by Jake on this kind of gloomy Wednesday morning, and hopefully we got Eric when we come back right after this.
Fox Local.
Welcome back. 1027 saying good morning to Jake Hamilton. You obviously got
we got the slightly overly tight blue button-up memo today.
Yeah.
Look at us. It looks better on you.
No, I would totally disagree, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you, my man.
You have had some unbelievable interviews of late.
We've been on a good run. This is a really good time of year because around October, November, December, you got a really nice blend, a little bit of a Venn diagram of big, giant blockbusters, movies looking to break the bank as we enter into the holiday season. And then also it's that what they refer to as award season. It's where a lot of the voting bodies, whether it be the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, or what have you, they all vote for what was the best movie of the year at the end of the year. So a lot of studios assume that these voters aren't going to be able to remember far back, so they kind of put their biggest, flashiest Oscar movie, often referred to as Oscar bait, they tend to put them in these final few weeks of the year.
Got it.
So it's a really nice blend of movies, and there's one coming out this Friday that just screams, give me an Oscar nomination.
Yes, and we're going to be hearing from him on our next hour as well, but give us a little taste here of what we can expect.
He's going from the bear to the boss. Obviously, he's basically a Chicago native by this point. Not only has he spent 4 years filming The Bear, coming up on 5, right here in Chicago, but then he just filmed a new action movie with Austin Butler over the summer. You know, they shot, they blocked off all kind of streets around here. They were spotted at Wrigley. So we talk a lot about, you know, by the time he got this role playing Bruce Springsteen in this new biopic, he was in Chicago when it happened. So he talks to me a lot about the things that he figured out about Bruce, and got some help from some of his The Bear co-stars while he was just right here in our city. So it's amazing. A lot of his probably Oscar, what's going to be, I think, Oscar-nominated work originated right here.
Which is, you know what else is just so astounding to me is that how you can be working on one project, but also, like, mentally preparing for...
You know, it's not that I'm trying to blow us up or anything, but, like, isn't that what you do every day? Like, you're on Good Day Chicago, and you know you've got this show coming up, and then you've probably got a story booked to go shoot after this, and you also have to edit that story that you shot last week. Like, we're all
multitasking,
multiple plates at one time. Now, again, not to knock, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you hear about, I mean, these actors who are in this category of, like, whoa, you are you are an artist,
actor with a capital A.
Yeah, exactly. Where you hear stories about how they get in character, in some cases stay in character.
Yeah, the method.
Yeah, like I wouldn't see, based on what I know, the limited amount of stuff I know about Daniel Day-Lewis, for example. I can't see him practicing for his next character during
there's a reason he takes a character and then disappears for 5, 6, 7 years, because he dives so far into it. But, you know, I think, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis is to me the quintessential example of, like, if you're gonna do method, do it that way. I am all for whatever it takes to get you there. If it yields a great performance. What I don't like hearing when it comes to, you know, the method acting is when it is at the cost of other people.
Oh yeah.
There was an actor who I'm not going to name who played a character a few years back, not even in a good movie. It was in kind of a crap movie, to be honest with you. And he played a character who did not have the use of his legs.
Okay.
And in between takes, would have the crew carry him to the bathroom. And that's where I draw the line. That's where I go, I'm sorry. Someone carrying you to the bathroom does not keep you in character. Like, that is insulting to the crew. That's insulting to your that's insulting.
That's a long way to go. That's dedication.
Yeah, I mean, Day-Lewis wanting to be called Mr. President on the set of Lincoln, sure. If that helps you out, if that helps you stay in character, no skin off my back. What you know, you do you, baby. I'm not carrying you to the bathroom. I'm not doing it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the movie is. I ain't carrying you to the bathroom.
No, sorry, my mind went here, but it's like, got a toilet paper.
So, come on,
more,
exactly. And again, I don't want to shout out this person, because it's an actor who we've had on the show before. I will tell you in commercial break, and whenever I tell you what movie it was for, you're gonna go,
that movie?
That's the movie?
Well, we're going to have a fun little break here.
Yeah.
But
we're going to have two actors who are great.
Exactly.
Coming up,
and they're live
don't
actors.
do those things.
Coming up. Okay, so, as I mentioned, Sound of Music is about to have a little run.
I'm so excited. Have you seen it on stage?
I have not seen it on stage.
It's so great on stage.
Okay, so we're going to be joined by two of the stars after this short break. So stay with us. Let's... The hills are alive. That's the only.
What if that's how you were discovered?
Literally.
What if,
the only lyric
in a
I
year
know.
Where, like, you know, Anthony Ponce used to be on this show.
Used to be back.
Someone heard the angelic voices from the heavens.
Yes, indeed.
How'd he do?
Good. Booked it.
These good-looking people.
Yeah.
The hills are about to become alive, like legit alive here in downtown Chicago, the Nederlander Theater, because November 2nd, that is when a run of the Sound of Music lands downtown, and today we are joined by Nicholas Rodriguez and Kate Loprest, Deerfield's own Kate Loprest. Yes. Nicholas, you hail from the great state of Texas.
Yes, Austin, Texas.
Yes. Austin, Texas. Hey,
yeah.
So we got some North suburbanites.
Texas.
You
and
North
then
Wilmette. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pinky's always up. Always.
During tea time.
Yes, hi.
So we don't do that in Texas.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
unless it's sweet iced tea.
Yeah, or Shinerbach.
Yeah, or a different. Yeah.
Well, wait, you guys got your own beer down there, right?
Shinerbach.
Okay. No. Wait. No, Lone Star.
Lone Star. Oh, we have several. It's a big state.
It's a big state.
Yeah. Greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
They'll tell you about it too.
We'll tell you.
Texans always love
we want you to know.
But we digress.
Yes. Yeah. This is obviously such a great show, and it has such a legacy for so many people. I'm sort of curious. You know, I'd imagine when you go out, when you see the crowd out there, it's probably not just maybe people seeing it for the first time. It's maybe someone who is bringing their kids or bringing their grandkids. Like, are you guys noticing different generations of people who are either seeing it for the 50th time or sometimes maybe even seeing it for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you see, I mean, that's the great joy of seeing this show, honestly, and being in the show is seeing so many different kinds of people and the age range of people enjoying it. People are coming, the grandmas are bringing their daughter and their granddaughter, and they're all in lederhosen, and they know all the words, and they're singing along. The show begins with these women singing. Our nuns start at the top of the show, and we have people whistling at the end of the nuns are like, we're modest women. Please, sir. but they're so excited the minute that the show starts.
What is that line with a show like this, particularly at the Nederlander Theater, the audience engagement? You know, because it's not the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, it's not. We don't want people, you know, with squirt guns squirting the stage. But do we encourage a little bit of audience participation?
I wouldn't say encourage.
Sure.
But, you would
tolerate.
You would be surprised, though, as like familiar as it is, that people aren't. Like, it oddly doesn't turn into a sing-along.
No,
I think people just get so wrapped up into it. And to tag on what Kate said too, what's really cool about this, and anytime you do a show in general, is that you have the opportunity to be somebody's first time in the theater. So to do it with a show like this, you know, so it's like their first time with Sound of Music or their first time in the theater, period, is pretty cool.
I'm curious how you guys keep it fresh. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are used to performing this over and over, but like you said, it's the first time for somebody. Does it being their first time make it feel more fresh to you guys, knowing that that's how you're being perceived?
For me, for sure. You know, and also too, because this is a tour, you know, it's placed very different in Chicago than it does in Durham, North Carolina.
Really?
Very slight, but you know, we have a lot of fun sparring back and forth and playing with each other. And something that may get a huge laugh one night doesn't necessarily the next night, or something we're not really expecting to get a laugh gets a laugh. So it just kind of keeps you on your toes, what resonates as you go across the country.
That's unbelievable. You know, these are characters who obviously we have seen portrayed both film, stage, by countless actors over the years. What is something that you brought to your portrayal where you can say, you know what, I know this character has been played by other people, but this little aspect of them is me. I'm deciding this about them.
Well, I think it's also important to note at this point that the play of The Sound of Music, which predated the movie musical, the play came out on Broadway in 1959, there are some very large differences with that between that and the movie.
Oh, interesting.
So what is exciting about that is, at least for me, I feel like people are re-meeting Elsa and Max for the first time because their characters are different in the movie than they are in the stage version, which is always a surprise to everybody.
I was going to add, do you get people who are maybe coming in and they've only seen Julie Andrews and they've only seen, you know, the Hills of Austria? Was it Austria they filmed it? Where they're almost taken aback by, like, wait a second, this isn't what I'm familiar with.
I think at first, I mean, it happens a lot, you know, that people just take, but then by the end, they took the ride of what we're what we're serving. You know, things happen in different order on stage than they happen in the film, you know. And for instance, 2 of our big scenes and songs aren't in the film at all. So you really see audiences kind of lean in and say, like, wait, I don't remember this. And you're like, you don't remember it because it wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, I always say, if you like The Sound of Music, come see the original musical because there's more. There's more that you don't get in the movie.
I actually had no idea it was a play before it was a movie. Will you tell us each about your respective characters? So we know Max and Elsa.
My character, her name is Elsa Schrader. In the movie, she's known as the Baroness, so I still introduce myself as the Baroness because people don't know who I'm talking about. They're like, Mother Abbess? No, Elsa Schrader. She is a wealthy woman from Vienna, Austria. She is the head of a corporation, a business owner and runner. And she and Georg, who is the captain, Georg von Trapp, are kind of being put together a little bit by Max into, they're trying to find out if they're going to be in a relationship together. It's their second time around. He was married before, she was married before, and they are discovering what kind of relationship this is going to be. Is it going to be a romantic relationship? Is this going to be a business deal? And how would it work with her still working in Vienna, Austria, but also now having to possibly run this house and run his affairs in and be mother to his 7 children in Salzburg.
Yeah, I played Max Detweiler, and the film is called, well, in the play too, he's called Uncle Max, even though there's no relation, but he's just that guy. Yeah, exactly. We all have that.
Everybody in Chicago's got
exactly. So the way I look at him is he kind of is the life of the party. He's the big connector that kind of slips in between worlds. We all know this guy, right? He can be friends with everybody. He makes things happen. He runs the concert that helps provide the Von Trapps to escape. Spoiler alert, they get out. You know, come on. Who hasn't seen the film? Come on, you know.
What's your statute of limitations?
I just ruined. I think I just ruined Sixth Sense for someone today. No joke. I think I ruined the ending of
No.
Well, you ruined Morpheus for me.
Wait, what?
You just outed it. Okay. That's neither here nor there.
You know, this is obviously there are some amazing musical numbers and ones that are really going to sort of make you feel good when you're coming in and out of the theater. But there's also some, I think, for people who maybe have never seen the film or unfamiliar with the story, there's very heavy themes and heavy topics that are presented in that. Do you find people are, maybe if they're not familiar with the story, are surprised by some of the places that the story goes?
I think, yes. I think even if they know it, they kind of have forgotten about it.
Sure.
And I think there's one thing about this production that's directed by three-time Tony winner Jack O'Brien is that we live in the light part of it, but we also don't shy away from the dark part of it, And I think we talk about this being a timeless musical, but we forget sometimes how timely it is, too. So a lot of the themes that happened in 1938 Austria when the play takes place, and as Kate said, written in 1959, but we're living some of those themes today in 2025. So I think, it definitely hits different with audiences now. Things are resonating in a different way, but that doesn't take away from the joy and the spirit of the hope and the faith and the family and the love that the story really embodies.
I cannot possibly say anything better than what you just said.
That was good.
See how we get along so well?
This is why it works.
To me, when it comes to live theater, it's so dramatic, but when you do have kind of a mix there and you leave, it's more vivid, I think, when there's that juxtaposition and you get a taste for the seriousness of the times, but you can also take pleasure in the musical numbers and all that.
Yes.
I'm always curious when it comes to a cast how close you all become as a team.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're on tour. Where, like, how long ago did this start, and like, how big's the cast, and how much do you guys hang out, if at all, like outside work?
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of a lot. I mean, we started rehearsals in August, right, in mid-August, so we're fairly new to the tour, and some of us knew each other. We've known each other for, I don't even want to out us, but over a decade, and of the core group of adult, this cast is, I think there's 33 of us.
Okay.
Orchestra 15, plus a huge crew. We're together. We live together, we work together, so we're together quite a bit, and we just have a good time backstage, but we're also private adult human beings with our own lives, so, we'll get out and do other things. So
I'd love to mention also that we are traveling with 7 children who are in the show, plus 3 understudy children. So there's 10 children in total. And for every child, there's at least 1, if not 2 parents or guardians. We have a family of 4 traveling with us with a younger brother and a teacher as well. So everything that you see is very kind of multiplied. And it's one of the things that I love about this show is the fact that it's about family, it brings family together, and we are traveling with families telling this story.
It's unbelievable. It is at the Nederlander Theater through November 2nd, which also, I mean, what a beautiful theater. What a big, giant, epic theater for such a big, beautiful, giant, epic show.
How long's the run? Because it's starting on November 2nd. Do you guys know?
We're running through November 2nd.
Oh, it's through November 2nd.
So you can come tonight if you want.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Twice on the weekends.
Right. I mean, you guys have to do 2-a-days, right, on the weekends?
Yes,
I mean,
we do 5 shows on the weekends.
And they love when you sing out loud with them, especially in the quiet moments.
They encourage.
They love when you shout like, "Hey, look out!" They love things like that.
Oh my gosh! Well,
never being invited.
What a cool thing. Have a great time here in Chicago. I mean, you're familiar with the area. Is it fun to be back home?
I haven't shut up. I haven't shut up about it. I did Wicked.
Since August.
Since August. Yes. No. I did Wicked in the Oriental. Was the Oriental Theater?
Wait, who were you in Wicked?
I was the Glinda Nessarose understudy.
Fantastic.
This was 20 years ago. But my grandparents went on their first date in the Oriental Theater and they saw a movie.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, around 1946, 1947. So I have a very long family history associated.
I wouldn't shut up about that either. I would talk about that every single day.
All
mid-show.
the time.
Yeah, I'm very connected to Chicago. I feel, I mean, it's part of my bones and my guts, and this theater is kind of the heart of that for me.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you
for
guys
coming in and paying us a little visit.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to be there tonight. When you hear people shouting at you,
that's us.
Well, and now that we know you can sing.
Yeah, exactly. And you can play, if you guys need an understudy for the piano.
Oh, yeah?
Piano.
Yeah. Amazing.
I just show up.
For sure.
I'm just there.
Nicholas Rodriguez, Kate Loprest, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Good luck. Break a leg. We are back with more Chicago Now right after this.
Nothing. This is a mess.
Is it bothering you?
Better question is, why isn't it bothering you? If cleanliness is godliness, you're a goddamn heathen, aren't you?
This is going to be something that people are going to be very much talking about, particularly around here.
Yes.
As a lot of people in our audience know, from 1972 to 78, 33 young men kidnapped, murdered, buried in a crawl space beneath their killer's house. That killer was John Wayne Gacy. And there is now a new series on Peacock called Devil in Disguise, John Wayne Gacy, that's going to kind of peel back the layers of who he was. And the John Wayne Gacy is portrayed by an absolutely incredible actor. I love him. If you haven't seen him in Severance, you are absolutely missing out. Michael Chernus joins us live. Michael, what a pleasure, man. I'm a fan. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thanks for having me, and hello, Chicago.
Well, speaking of, man, I'll just jump right into this.
Yes.
Particularly for us here where we're speaking to you in the city of Chicago. This is a story that even all these decades later is still very raw to a lot of people. And I'm just sort of curious, what conversations did you have, if any, with the people who might have been around, may have met him, may remember that house?
I love the city of Chicago so much, and one of the many things when I took on this role was like, oh no, they're not going to let me come back to Chicago ever. As Chicagoans know, this story has been covered ad nauseum since Gacy was arrested in 1978. And I'm sure Chicagoans are like, what else can be said about this? Do we really need another John Wayne Gacy story? But I think the thing that we're doing differently is that we're really focusing on the victims and the victims' families and the law enforcement officers that brought Gacy to justice and the larger systemic failures that allowed him to get away with it for so long. So I think we're taking a slightly different point of view on this. We have these little, what we call short stories in every episode, where we meet some of his victims before they ever cross paths with John Gacy. That being said, our show is based on the true story, but it is fictionalized to some extent. So we didn't, I personally didn't speak to anybody who's still alive who may have been a family member of one of the victims or a law enforcement officer involved in the case. But our producers did. They reached out to everybody via email or phone call or some even a written letter, just to let them know that this was happening.
Michael, how do you even go about prepping for a role like this, trying to get into character as a serial killer?
I did a ton of research. I read every book that exists about this story. I watched the documentaries, I listened to the podcasts, and then I came to Chicago and I spent a number of days going to places that Gacy had supposedly frequented. I went to the L&L Tavern and sat at the bar, and I went to Washington Square Park, which is also known as Bughouse Square, where he picked up a number of his victims. And I went out by where his house used to be, out near O'Hare in Norwood Park Township. But at the end of the day, I did all this research, and then I eventually had to let that go and trust that that was all inside of me, and then dive into these incredible scripts that we have. And like I said, it's based on the true story, but there is a bit of an imaginative leap that we all had to make in condensing this massive story into 8 episodes.
Michael, I know we have to let you go, but I want to get you out of here on this. Between this and then obviously a lot of people are talking about the Ed Gein series, there is this sort of internal look that I feel like we're all having as a society right now, which is, why are we all so fascinated with these people, with these stories, with these miniseries? And I'm just sort of curious what your perspective is on this, because I speak from, I can't get enough of these. I love shows like these, but what does it say that we love watching stories like this?
I think that these people commit these unthinkable acts and they don't make sense. And we as a human race want to make sense of it. And so we're hoping that these shows can kind of tie it up. I think it's why Law and Order has been successful as long as it has, because at the end of the episode, the case is solved, and I think we want there to be some closure. But unfortunately, with a case like this, there isn't any real closure at the end of the day. We'll never fully understand why a monster like John Gacy did what he did. But I think our show is trying to tell the larger story of the horrible effect it had on thousands of people and really on the whole city of Chicago.
Michael Chernus, thank you so much. We know you got to get going, but we really appreciate you taking the time for us this morning. Appreciate it.
Severance rules, man.
Oh, thanks so much. If I could say one last thing,
please.
We lost the great Chicago artist. We lost the great Chicago artist Tony Fitzpatrick recently, and I love Tony. He was a great actor. I was on a TV show with him, and I want to give my condolences to his family and to the whole city of Chicago, because I know Chicago loved Tony Fitzpatrick and he loved Chicago. So my heart goes out to everyone who's mourning the loss of Tony.
That's awesome. Thank you for that, man.
Thank you, Michael. We'll pass that along. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, man.
I think adding to his point about, wanting closure and why these, I also think, and, I'm not a psychologist by any means, but I also think in terms of, and it's especially relevant this time of year during Halloween, that I think there's some kind of thing where it pleases us to be able to say, that's evil and that's over there.
Exactly. There's a sense of
there.
An extension of that, like control over an uncontrollable situation.
Yeah.
You look at, whether it be like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or a Scream, it is the most unfathomable circumstance, but you are in control of it because this craziness that's happening, you can see it, you can bear witness to it, but you can control that it's not happening to you.
Exactly.
You can press pause, you can press rewind, you can stop it if you, if you want to. And I think that there's something to that because that's I talk a lot about on the show about how much I love scary movies. And oftentimes, like, I'll just put Scream on in the background. Like, it's a weird comfort movie for me, and it makes no sense. And I'll talk with Natalie, and Natalie will say, like, I don't get how you can watch movies like that. And I'll just say, like, it's not that I'm desensitized. It's just that, like, to me it's not real. It's not, those are a little tougher because especially something like that story, or I mean even Ed Gein.
Ed Gein
was right across the Cheddar Curtain, and like you said, Gacy's house was not too far away, and he spent a lot of time in Chicago.
When you mentioned Norwood Park, I've been. It's like a
because the actual house is no longer there, right?
But there's a plot of land because it was kind of on a corner there, the way the streets are laid out in Norwood Park. But you get that feeling. I was out there for a story years ago, but you definitely get that, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like,
who's got great stories? I'm pretty sure Dane Placco was very much in the thick of his career as a Chicago reporter when all of that was going down, and he's got a lot of stories about that. And I think if you're a Chicago reporter, I'm sure your dad probably.
Oh, for sure. Now let me ask you this. I know we're almost out of time, Jake, but you have always said that the superheroes movies, the kids movies, and the horror movies are the ones that drive the box office. It's no accident that we're seeing a lot of these cluster this time of year.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, there are always going to be around the month of October, an uptick in this sort of stuff. But a lot of the success of horror movies is, one, yes, it is a very popular genre. It's been a popular genre dating back to the early days. The old Universal monster movies, Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff like that. But also, to be fair, a big part of it comes just from a financial standpoint. A lot of horror movies inherently tend to be inexpensive movies. So you could these days you can make a horror movie for $7, $8, $9 million.
Do you remember the Blair Witch Project?
Of course,
Blair Witch Project. That's going way back. But
I mean, that was an independent film. Blair Witch Project was also a moment that could never happen again because part of the entire marketing campaign, it came out in the summer of '99. It was at the birth of the internet, and part of the marketing campaign, if you remember, was these tapes were real. We found these tapes in the middle of the woods,
and we're just gonna play them.
Yeah, we're just going to play them for you. And there is a chunk of America, and I was 11 years old when it came out, that was convinced that they were going to see a film that was they found this VHS tape in the middle of the woods. You could never do that now. Like that, the internet instantly would pick it apart and say, no, this is not real, this is fake, these are actors and stuff like that. But that was a product of a moment that will never happen again.
Yeah, that's wild. But thanks for the perspective,
brother.
There. It was cool to talk to him. Let's see. That's on
What does it feel like knowing that two people are about to sit in these chairs that are infinitely better looking than we are?
Oh my gosh, yeah, we're about to upgrade things.
They didn't even hear me say it. We're giving them
ChicagoNOW.
Giving them gold.
Tia and Gabriella.
We're talking about how good looking you are.
They will be. They will be up next right after this short break. Everybody, stay with us.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. This is the 11 o'clock hour. I'm Tia Ewing.
It's good to have you back.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot better, and I have my tea right here, just in case.
When you need it.
Yeah, just in case.
You pronounce whiskey differently than I do.
Whiskey?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
No, he's saying your tea.
Oh, because I'm saying tea?
Yeah.
Way to go, Jake. Way to go.
Yeah, so funny,
no.
Jake.
But it's crazy. So many people this time of year are sick.
Yeah.
So I'm not alone and having something respiratory going on. But the beauty is that, I'm starting to make the curve. Yeah. But some people say they like this voice. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it.
You know what? It is kind of sultry.
That's so funny. That's not to jump ahead, but we're about to toss to an interview with Jeremy Allen White. But in a different chunk, not the chunk that we're going to air, he talks about he found the boss of the Springsteen voice by basically screaming into a pillow and making himself sick. And because he liked the sultry voice that came of it.
So he ended up with like a hoarse, raspy kind of like sound.
And there's an entire Friends episode where Phoebe gets sick and she likes how her voice sounds.
Because I've told Brendan, my husband, before that I actually love when I have that raspiness too, because I have such a high voice and I've always wanted to be lower.
First of all,
more serious.
Whenever you two speak, it's like angels from the heavens and parted and just.
You always know how to make a woman feel good. I'll give you that. I know the ladies follow you because you know all the right things to say. Okay, we got to talk about what we have coming up on the show. People with memory changes who are worried that they have Alzheimer's disease can get an answer sooner because of a new blood test, and we're going to talk to an expert all about that. This was just clear with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And then BraveHearts, I love this, the nation's leading equine assisted services organization for veterans. They're returning to Chicago this Friday for the Trail to Zero. That's an annual 20-mile horseback ride to raise awareness for veteran mental health and suicide prevention. We're going to have some people on the show to talk about that.
No, I'm looking forward to that. But first, we have to talk to Jake.
Yeah.
Who's also an amazing guest.
Oh, keep going.
Always.
Tell me more.
You talked to the Bear star.
I did, yeah. He's going from the Bear to the boss.
Chicago with him.
Yeah, well, because, these days he's basically
living here.
Living in Chicago, right? So Jeremy Allen White has a movie coming out on Friday. It's called Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. And listen, these days, if you're an actor and you want to get an Oscar nomination, easiest way to go about it is play a musician in a biopic.
Why?
It's the best way to showcase, you can have that internal struggle. You can, if you have a singing voice, you can sing for it. It's the best way, and there's that recognition where people are able to compare it to something. They can say, he absolutely nailed that part because I can see what the real guy looks like. And, I think Jamie Foxx won his Oscar for playing Ray, and there have been lots of actors who have gotten Oscar nominations for playing real people. Well, like you said, Jeremy Allen White basically lives here these days. 4 seasons of The Bear. He was here this summer shooting a movie with Austin Butler. He was spotted at Wrigley. So I wanted to talk about, basically I assumed that he would have been preparing to play Springsteen while he was here in Chicago. But I started out with what might be a silly question, but it's one I really wanted to know because I'm fascinated with having Bruce Springsteen's cell phone number. Like to me, that's the
he has it.
He does.
Right.
And so I want to know, when you have the boss's cell phone number, what do you save him as in your phone? Here's what he said.
But I'm fascinated with the idea of being friends with Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
What is he saved as in your phone?
I can't say, because I think it's like I'm like not even able to save his number as his first and last name. Like it was sent to me with a different name, and I've kept it that way.
So,
but I think
it's not Bruce Springsteen.
It's not, and yeah, I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if it's like a name he uses for other things and stuff like that, but it is not Bruce Springsteen. Yes.
Do you have me saved as Jake Hamilton, or do you have a nickname like Big Jake? Like I'm trying to think. All the times we hang out.
Chicago Jake.
Chicago Jake. Exactly. Well done. Well done. I think it stands to reason that there's a good chance during your time in Chicago might have been some of the time you were prepping for this role. Did you research into? I mean, I'm picturing you running along the lakefront to Born to Run. Like, was there any of your research or your understanding of Bruce that was done in Chicago?
I picked up a guitar while I was staying in Chicago, and I started like messing around with the guitar. But I was probably reading Warren Zane's book, listening to Nebraska. And I did have a guitar with me, and Eben, who knows how to play guitar, would come around and mess with the guitar and might have shown me a couple things. But I probably only had like a month of overlap, and then I had about 5 months after finishing that to prepare to shoot the movie.
I think we got that.
So the movie hits theaters on Friday. It's going to be, you know, I was just talking with Anthony about this. It's very much what we call award season. It's that time of year where all of like the Oscar movies are coming out. This is one I think people are going to like because it's a really fascinating story. I'm going to be honest. I don't really know the lore of Springsteen. I had to kind of be educated a little bit, but there is a particular album in his discography that Springsteen fans are very divided about, and it's called Nebraska. And there's a reason that people feel one way or another about it. And this biopic does a really interesting thing that I love when biopics do, which is rather than try to cover someone's entire life, what they call a cradle to the grave story, they focus on a very specific couple of months, like this very specific moment. And this movie follows the creation of this Nebraska album. And at the time I thought, why that album over the others? Why not, you know, Born in the USA or whatever the case may be? When you see the movie, you understand, oh, that's why they focused on that.
There was some controversy or something there.
He was going through a lot. He was dealing with a lot. You know, this isn't a spoiler alert. It's his real life, happened 40 years ago, but he was going through a lot of undiagnosed depression that he really inherited from his dad. So it was him dealing with a lot of the issues with his father. And also at this time, he created this very artistic album. He was also creating Born in the USA, which is one of the biggest top-selling albums of all time. And it's a really, it's a testament to artistry, because the studio said, well, we don't want this artistic album, we want Born in the USA. And he said, nope, you're putting out Nebraska or you don't get Born in the USA. So it's a great look into the business world. It's a great look into, you know, mental health and how even 40 years ago it was stigmatized and it was a different kind of world. And it's an incredible performance.
I have to ask you this question, Jake, based on the question that you asked Jeremy Allen White. You asked him about what would his name be, you know, what was Springsteen's name in his phone, and he couldn't tell you. Is there a celebrity that you have in your phone saved and you don't have them saved as that celebrity? It's something else?
Yes.
Who? You didn't tell. You don't have to give the name.
You don't have to give the name.
But who is the person?
Well, I'm just going to say, here's what I'll tell you, is that I've been doing this for a long time, over about 20 years of doing celebrity interviews, and over that time I've you know,
made friends.
Sure, and there are people that I'm lucky enough to be able to, you know, if I get shut down for an interview request, I can just send a text and say, hey, what, you know.
Can we guess? Is it a male or female?
I'll tell you when we're not live.
Okay, here's my follow-up question.
Did he tell you the name when you guys weren't on camera?
No.
He didn't tell you?
No.
Okay, here's my follow-up. Why don't you have them? Because he never really explained why he doesn't have his name saved. I thought in the event that he loses his phone, you know, somebody can't go and call up Bruce and
no one's going to go through my contacts and really, you know, honest to God, I was going to say, if anyone, they're going to be looking for y'all's numbers more than anybody. For me, it's just kind of a fun thing. It's just kind of a, you know, because seeing little nicknames pop up here and there and going on. But then again, it's not like these people whose number I have in here, it's not like I'm texting them like, hey, what you doing today? It's more like,
I get it.
It's like, hey, you got a movie coming out, or like, hey, I'm going to New York and you're on Broadway, like, can I come backstage and say hi, kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay, I have another question for you though. In your conversation, did it come up where his favorite place in Chicago is? Is it a food place? Is he like,
you know, he tends to, you know, and because he's been, we did my very first time interviewing him was right there. He comes in studio.
Right I'm like outside.
He comes actually he comes in studio from time to time, but I actually find that because the bear requires so much of him, and yes, he's always kind of spotted around, but I think he's spotted around more because the shoots take him around. I think whenever he's here, he's focusing. And like, you know, and the interview talking that we just showed, you know, he was even while he was here shooting the bear, he was preparing for another part. So I think it's one of those situations. It's like anytime we travel for a story, you know, people are always like, oh man, it must be so nice to go to LA or New York.
They have no idea.
I go, I'm in my hotel, man. I'm not you know, we go to LA or New York all the time, and I'm 98% of my time is room service in a hotel because we're working, we're prepping. It's not a vacation.
Like Gabby, where did you start your day today, Gabby?
I started my day in Harvey, Illinois.
And you had to get all the way back here.
And then I got to Dirksen Federal Building.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I went up to the courtroom. Then I came back here and changed real quick. Briefly briefed myself on the show to do this.
All of you guys, it's such a cliche metaphor, but it really is. I think it's perfect. It's the whole iceberg metaphor. It's that you only see that much of what's below the surface, and you know, there's a lot of work that goes into what these two do on a daily basis, and they make it look easy.
But you too,
and
Jake. You're a busy
not.
guy.
But it's you know, it's fine.
You know, going back to what you first said before you showed us that clip, that, you know, people often get Oscars because of their performance in biopics. Yeah. But also, do you think it's because we don't really get to see that side, or at least we used to not really get to see the side of singers, of actors?
Well, exactly right.
Like, now there's social media, so people might share some more, but it was almost kind of secretive.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you know, like Austin Butler got the Oscar nomination, came very close to winning for Elvis. You know, there's so many, and I think because when you start at that place of familiarity, and then you're peeling back, to your point, you're peeling back layers, and so you can start with, okay, I know that person, but you're showing me something I've never seen before, so they have something to compare the performance to, but then also be able to say, but they're also showing me a side. You know, we've all seen clips of Bruce Springsteen our entire lives. We've all seen you know, clips of Elvis or whatever the case may be, and you know, but we're seeing, to your point, it's almost like we're friends with them.
I think too,
it's captivating.
Yeah, I think too with the actors too, it shows the breadth, right? It shows the depth that they can do so many different things and not just be hemmed up to this one role.
Exactly. I mean, keep in mind, you know, I always use Jamie Foxx as an example. For the longest time, he was, you know, in Living Color. He was the guy from Booty Call, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm sorry, you can do what? You can do Ray? You can do... Remember, the year he was nominated for Ray and won the Oscar, he was also nominated for supporting actor for a movie he did with Tom Cruise called Collateral. So, all of a sudden, boom, like, it just shows you these people, and not just acting skills, Jeremy Allen White, all of a sudden, God help him, every movie after this, people are going to go, hey, can you sing? Do you mind singing for? Because now we know he can sing. We know that Jamie Foxx can sing very well. You know, he can play piano. It really does show. And these days, you know, that helps you at least get that Oscar nomination. Maybe not the win, but it gets you in the conversation.
You know,
I like you. You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
I played saxophone in 6th grade.
Actually, but you know, you have to think that they might be a little hesitant to start singing on top of their acting career, because it does open up a whole other can of worms. Does anyone hinted to that?
You know, here's the thing, and I am of the mind that if you're going to play a singer, you should be able to sing, which is why one of the many reasons, for a lot of reasons, I'm not a big fan of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, for which Rami Malek won an Oscar for playing Freddie Mercury. He's lip syncing the whole time.
Did not know that.
And so it's just sort of like, you know, and I get it. Listen, the voice of Freddie Mercury was a once-in-a-lifetime God-given talent that will never be replicated on. But you gotta get. Can you try? Can you get, you know, like, I don't want to take away from his performance, because there was a lot of stuff about his performance that was nice. But quite frankly, a lot of actors can get on stage and lip sync. And I just think, you know,
I mean, they could have hired me. I could have. You know,
I would have
done that.
You know, like Jennifer Hudson, like she, like, you know, you think, okay, who could play Aretha Franklin? Jennifer Hudson played Aretha Franklin very well, and it's probably one of the only voices that you could put. I'm not, and even Jennifer Hudson would say, don't put my voice up against her.
Yeah, but it's the closest you could probably get.
Exactly right, and I think that's the thing. If the actor doesn't exist, don't make the movie yet, because someone will come along that maybe can get close.
Wow, that's a good point, actually.
Yep.
I like that, Jake.
But then again, people like money.
We always learn a lot from you, Jake.
You know,
don't we?
I made it all up.
No, you didn't.
Do you have a favorite movie that's based off a singer yet?
Ooh, that's a great question. A favorite movie that's based on a singer. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a biopic, but Dreamgirls is I mean, it was such a great musical.
So many people can sing in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You hire people, see what happens. What happens? You hire people, you can sing. I really like, last year, I loved the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, Timothy Chalamet. I love that. But again, I'm also a Bob Dylan guy. I loved that. I love Jennifer Hudson as Aretha. I mean, honestly, Ray was captivating.
Good. It was captivating.
You know, if it's done right, it can be done very, very well.
That's true.
Yeah, I want to see the Tia Ewing biopic.
Me too.
You
don't want to see that.
For that.
I would be sued. I got a lot of people I'd be thrown under the bus.
That's why you do it. Once your career is done, you can go. I got it.
Jake and I.
That would be a must.
Front row.
Yes.
Man, I'm just.
Yeah. The wheel. I can see the wheels turning right now.
They're definitely turning. Yeah. Somebody was saying, I think, who would play me? Is that what I heard? Who would play me? Jake Hamilton.
Denzel.
Oh my God, no.
What do you mean no?
Absolutely not. I don't know who would play you. I have to think about that. I think I would want. I know this is probably out of like the box, but I probably would want either Nia Long or I would want Fantasia to play me.
Oh.
Fantasia.
Well,
only because I can sing a little bit.
I was just about to say, because Fantasia could do the voice.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Did you see her in Color Purple?
I did. Amazing.
One of my biggest frustrations of how did you not get an Oscar nomination?
I know. Wasn't that upsetting?
That's a whole. We don't have time for me to get into that. I love that movie.
She is a great performer live too.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, take off the shoes and everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have much more.
I love this show.
I wish you could just stay with us.
I love this show. No, you guys got far more important people to talk to.
No, we love when you're with us.
I love this. This is good.
This brings up our energy.
Yeah,
Come on.
Okay, we got to talk about something that's really important in the medical field, and there's this new test. It involves Alzheimer's disease. We're going to have it right after this break. We'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. Now, there's a new blood test just cleared by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. This test can help rule out Alzheimer's as a cause of cognitive symptoms in adults ages 55 and older. It is the first such test authorized for primary care use. So bringing in an expert, Dr. Anul Bhandari, Chief Medical Officer at VisStim Labs and board-certified neurologist. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, this is very serious. I guess our first question would be, what makes this new blood test different from what's been available before for people?
Well, there's actually nothing available that's of this consequential importance. This blood test is pretty important because it sets for early screening and diagnosis. So these blood tests are very important, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Alzheimer's affects about 7.2 million Americans, and all we had before were PET scans, neurology appointments, and diagnosis from that point from a clinical standpoint. So not much, but this helps get the power back to patients to get an early start on diagnosis.
This is really groundbreaking.
It really is. Dr. Bhandari, I want to ask you, based on this question, I'm just thinking about, sometimes you may have a mother, a father, a grandparent that you may think, I see some signs there, I'm not really sure. Is this a situation where they can now go to their primary care physician and that person can order the test for them to be cleared to have it?
Yes, so that's a great question. So it's important to get an early start on it. Brain health has started to gain importance probably in the last decade. I would say that anybody you have signs and symptoms of memory loss, it's a good idea to get an early start to get a diagnosis made. But that's only a piece of the puzzle. It also involves monitoring the disease process. And that's what we've been doing at VisStim Labs.
Okay, I have a question for you. How do you pronounce a test? Because I'm kind of just seeing a lot of letters and numbers almost. And also, how available is this for people right now? Is it so new that only, some hospital systems are offering it?
So it's called p-tau. So tau, yeah. There's certain things in the brain when you have a disease process. There are tangles, and plaques. So you have amyloid, and you also have p-tau. So those tests involve alpha beta 42. That's one of the tests, and the other one is called p-tau. And there's different variants of that. But you can go and get, if you have symptoms of it, you can go to your primary care doctor, more importantly, your neurologist, and have the first test done.
So when it comes to getting this test done, does this give you a definitive answer? Yes, I have early stage Alzheimer's, or is this kind of like a big picture looking at, you know, what you may have to deal with in, let's say, 5 years from now?
So it's a piece of the puzzle. So we're not fully there yet. It's about 80 to 90% specific, meaning it's just, you know, it gives you a good idea. So it's a good idea to see your primary care and get the process started. But that's also where monitoring is important. So you get a snapshot with the test, but then you want to monitor it. And that's what the Ceregram, which is a tool that we use at Vistum Labs, allows us to basically, in just a few minutes, monitor what's going on with the disease process itself.
You know, Tia mentioned it, maybe some symptoms that people might be having. You know, what are signs that families should be looking for, neighbors should be looking for when it comes to someone potentially having Alzheimer's and should go and get checked out?
So there's a list of you know, symptoms. The main ones would be any type of forgetting your keys, you know, trouble. People are forgetting their way to work. Even in today's day and age with Google and Google Maps and Apple Maps, but it's things that are out of the ordinary. So in early stages, it's personality changes. People are staring off. People have trouble with forgetting faces and people's names, numbers, and that's how it typically gets started. But then you can involve people even all the way to hallucinations and complete personality changes. So it's important to, you know, anything that seems out of place, that's when you should get checked out for sure.
Let's say you get this test done and it comes back that you do have some early signs of having Alzheimer's disease. Is there anything you can do to kind of, I don't know how to ask this question, but kind of ward it off? Like, we hear people talking about, let's buy memory games. We can do, people buy these memory books where you go through all these different, you know, exercises to try to see and test your memory. What's your take on that? Do you believe that actually works?
Exercise anything you can. So not just your body, but your mind. So you wanna exercise it. So, you know, I advocate for any type of puzzles, whether it's like you know, the word jumble or a great New York Times crossword puzzle or what have you. But it's a good idea to interact with people. You know, there's something you learn new every day. If you can do that, even that helps to exercise that mind and keep it sharp. So, and then you can always monitor it. So that's where testing, not just about screening, but continuing to monitor the whole progression is important.
What about other things you could do before you're even at risk? Maybe as a young person, what are steps that you could take if you know it runs in your family to help ward off Alzheimer's? Is it, you know, having some different supplements in your diet? Is it, again, you know, doing brain games and such?
So studies have shown that that higher education helps. So that's where the exercising the mind. So studying, those who study early and often, those are the ones that have a lower risk of having Alzheimer's. So the ones that go for higher education typically have a less risk of having Alzheimer's. So it's important to go out there and study if you can, but it's also important to, there are some studies that show CoQ10 has some impact on it. Turmeric has some impact on it, but it's not strong data.
Yeah, those are the two that I often hear, CoQ10 and then also fish oil as well as turmeric. You know, what will, you know, moving forward, brain health checks, will they be as common, you think, as, say, cholesterol checks when you're going to the doctor? Do you see a big future in it?
That's an excellent question. Brain health is rapidly evolving, and I do see it, and that's what we're doing at Vistum Labs, actually, is getting into the monitoring side of things. So the blood test helps us open the door, if you will, but then it's important to monitor it because you can't do blood tests all the time. It's important to go ahead and monitor it with a non-invasive tool. And this will, in just a few minutes, can get you if you're improving, if you're worsening, and if your neurologist or your primary care doctor needs further data, that can help. So those checks are important. Those are like checkpoints to look at how your brain is functioning and how well you're doing. Those are important as well.
Doctor, talk about the benefit of this test because it is new, it is innovative, there's nothing else like it. This is the first time. Talk about what the benefits are of this test now being around.
Huge benefits across the board. First of all, it creates an initiative and awareness that how important Alzheimer's disease process is and how important brain health is, which ties into longevity. As we focus more on living longer, the brain plays a critical role in that. So it's important to focus on the brain. We've been focusing on the heart, we've been focusing on cancer, but it's important to also focus on the brain. That's what we've been doing for the last decade or so. And we're really catching steam on that. So that piece of it, looking forward, these blood tests are going to make blood tests as well as screening tools and monitoring tools. The more data we have, the better chance we have of combating this disease process. Also, we're living longer. That means more Americans are going to be affected. And so it's important to catch it early, to take care of it early, and keep the fight alive.
You know, I think I got caught up kind of on asking the name of the test because it looks so complicated. p-tau, you said. But again, how prevalent is the test right now? Is it available for people in different healthcare systems, or is it so new that we might have to wait a few months to see it?
It's available. So if you go to your primary care doctor or you go to your neurologist and you're meeting their criteria insurance-wise, you should be able to get it ordered. There's a panel most labs have, and so you just check off on it, and then you'll be able to order those specific labs, the p-tau and the AB42. So they've created a very neat panel so that you can just click it and get it ordered at this point.
Okay. All right, perfect. Dr. Hanul Bandari, Chief Medical Officer at Vistim Labs and a board-certified neurologist. Thank you so much for coming on the show and really talking about this innovative technology that sounds like it will change lives in the long term. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it was a pleasure. Okay, we're going to talk about something that I think is a little interesting. We're talking about maybe you're fighting with your spouse a little more than usual right now, and you're trying to figure out why, how to stop it before it goes way too far. And joining us to break all of this down, Couples Fighting in the Fall, is Molly Burritz. She is a clinical psychologist. Hopefully I got your name right, Molly. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. A lot of people may be going through this at home and they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Why does it feel like couples start fighting more once this season rolls around than any other time?
Because they do, and the research proves this. But it's not because people suddenly dislike each other. What it is that fall brings this perfect storm of stressors. The days are shorter, there's less sunlight, kids are back in school, holiday planning, extra spending, small things that wouldn't normally bother you about your partner tend to feel like a bigger deal when there are a lot of external stressors. So I've seen couples argue over these seemingly very small things, and they make a mistake. They think that it's about their relationship having troubles, but really it's about seasonal stress, and it's about these external stressors that create more tension.
But you would think that people would be more happy. You're going to pumpkin patches, maybe. You see
Halloween decorations,
getting ready for Halloween. But I could see how you're right. Maybe even school starting and such. I guess, what are some tips? I mean, do you suggest that people openly communicate and say, hey, it's fall time, just so you know, we're going to be fighting a little bit more? Or what's the conversation even like?
Yeah, so I think, reflecting and reminding each other that, you know what, our lives are more stressful than they maybe were over the summer. This isn't about our relationship, and let's take a team approach. But what you really have to be responsible for is your own reactivity. Because when you're stressed out, before you respond in the heat of the moment, maybe your initial response might be something like, you never help with this, or you always do that. you really need to pause and reflect. Notice your own stress. Notice the response that you're having and choose another way. So just shifting your phrasing can actually change the conversation entirely. Instead of saying, you never help with this, say, I'm feeling really stressed out about getting everything done. Can we tackle this together? And just changing your tone and changing how you approach the problem solving can dramatically change the relationship tone.
You know, Molly, sometimes in relationships, people don't see it the way you do, right? You can tell them, hey, no, this is how you reacted to this. This is the problem I have. And they just don't see themselves in that argument, in that situation. What would be a suggestion of something couples can do to make one another see really what's at stake here, really what the problem is here?
Okay, so here's what I recommend. Set the conflict aside in the heat of the moment. You don't need to solve it right now. And in fact, emotions might be too high for you to really use your logical brain in that moment. But come back to it at another time when you're not feeling stressed out and say, you know, I'm thinking about that conversation that we had earlier this morning. I was really stressed out. And what I noticed was that it felt like you weren't understanding my perspective. Can we talk about it now? Because I think you'll be surprised how much perspective you can internalize and what a different viewpoint you can have when you're not in the heat of the moment and experiencing that difficult emotion that you are when the conflict is happening. People can find that they're much more logical, they're much more reasonable when they're not having an emotional response.
You know, I totally agree with that, because you hear, okay, wait 24 hours and then respond. Obviously, you can't do that when you're in a relationship because you're in the same room with them. You're probably going to be going to bed that night with them as well. But yeah.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Or maybe they'll be on the couch. But you know, it is so true. You give it a little bit of time. But you kind of have to make that happen, because sometimes they don't want to give you that time. They just want to resolve it right away.
That's right. And so what you need to do is reassure each other. You know what? This is important. It's not that we're just putting it on the back burner. We're saving it for a time when we can be more intentional about it and commit to coming back to it and saying, I can see right now that my emotions are too high to tackle this. Can we agree to talk about this tonight before bed or once the kids are asleep? So that your partner doesn't feel abandoned, so that your partner doesn't feel like you're just avoiding it because you don't care or you can't be bothered. You really have to set that intention to come back to it. And these small intentional moments of connection really have huge power. So don't underestimate the power of 10 minutes of intentional time to reconnect in your relationship. I think we all make the mistake that we have to have a date night or we have to have a weekend away in order to reconnect. That's not always realistic. In fact, it's often not. But we underestimate how much impact small little chunks of time with intentionality can have on our relationship.
You know, Molly, we live in a technology world where people, you know, they want to FaceTime, they want to text, and sometimes arguments or debates or what have you spill over into text message. What do you think about that? Because I often feel like even in text conversations that I have just with friends, not even necessarily my husband, people don't always get what you're trying to say. And I'm like, no, I know you thought that was my tone, but that's not what that wasn't my tone at all. What do you say to that? Because a lot of people feel like, you know, I got to finish this conversation right now and I'm finishing it via text.
I have a hard and fast rule, which is no conflict over text. It never goes well. You can't understand someone's tone. You can't hear the compassion in their voice. And when you have like an added obstacle between you, which is a screen, and you're not seeing someone in real time, you're not getting their body cues, you're not getting their facial cues, people tend to be more reactive and they say things that they wouldn't say in real life when they're looking at a person's face. We tend to be less empathic, we tend to be more reactive when we're not held accountable by somebody else's real life presence in front of us. So that's just my rule. I don't have conflict over text.
You know, I want to bring up like money too. Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
so
leave them all unread. You know, I'm just not responding.
I do want to bring up money problems because I feel like it's a whole different beast probably than, you know, maybe a schedule change or a little tip that comes up. What comes up maybe during the fall time that triggers things, and how can you resolve it?
I like to think about money as a symbol. Money is a symbol for safety and security. So when couples are fighting about money, what they're actually fighting about is safety, security, and sometimes power. So I encourage people to kind of look past dollars and cents and ask themselves, what am I really fighting about here? Am I worried that your spending is going to compromise my safety or security? Or am I worried that because you are more rigid or more controlled in your spending, that you're actually the one with the power in this relationship? And this takes some emotional maturity. This takes some attunement that many people we have to develop it because we're not always born with it, you know? And so I really encourage people, if you're fighting about money, ask yourself, is this really about safety and security? Is this really about power? And then speak to the real issue at hand.
I love that. If you could give a couple, maybe someone's watching right now and they're like, man, it does seem like we're going at it a little more than usual. What would be that piece of advice to really carry them through? We got the fall. Winter, I would assume, is probably a whole nother beast if you don't solve it in the fall. So what would be your piece of advice that you would give? The one piece that you could give to someone right now?
We tend to look toward our partners to meet all of our needs. And we can often overlook our own capacity to take care of ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on our partners, a lot of demand on our partners to meet our needs. And the fact is that we're all juggling a lot, and especially parents. We don't always have the ability to show up for our partners in exactly the way that they need us to. So I tell people, before you look to your partner to meet this need, what can you do for yourself that will actually meet this need, at least in part, while you wait or while you ask for what you need? Because we have to be able to manage our own experience of disappointment. And I think that we underestimate what we can do for ourselves to meet our own needs. And we place that burden and demand on our partners in a way that's often not realistic. And so it's a balance. Do you have a right to have your needs met by your partner? And is that important in a relationship? Absolutely. But when we're disappointed, which we all experience in relationship, how can you meet the need for yourself in the meanwhile?
What do you think that, I think you summed that up beautifully.
Yeah.
As two married people sitting here, where do you think that expectation comes from? Because I do feel like, you know, I'm not a man. I can't speak for, you know, the men that are out there watching that may, you know, be in relationship. But as a woman, sometimes I do feel like women especially have all of this that, you know, is expected of us, and some of it is absolutely unrealistic. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think there are multiple systems at play. Look, we know that the responsibility of household administration and management and emotional management of all the people in the home tends to fall, you know, more on women than on men. And in the past, this was maybe more reasonable because women were not working outside of the home as often. So this was the portion of household responsibility that women could take on. But now the majority of women are working outside of the house, but society's expectations of us have not changed, right? We also develop our expectations of our partners in part based on what we saw in the homes that we were growing up in. So what did we see mom taking responsibility for? What did we see dad doing? And then we often project those beliefs onto our partners, where we may have a very different household setup than the one that we grew up in. So we can't always just take what we experienced as kids and map it onto the experience that we're having now, because we live in different homes with different arrangements. So we have to get really curious about, like, okay, where did these expectations come from? How are they relevant now? And how are they no longer relevant?
But do you feel like it's getting better now that we're, you know, going a little further into the 21st century? Like, I would think that things, you know,
I'm sorry, Molly.
For the younger generation, I don't know. Have you seen anything at least getting a bit better when it comes to those expectations? on both sides.
I want to be more positive than I actually feel, but what I really think that we need for change is institutional change. We need the systems in our life, like the government, like social programs, like work expectations. We need those to be more accommodating to women who are running families and working outside the home. And we need that institutional scaffolding to support us, because we can't expect that all change will just happen at the individual level. We need systems that support us.
Molly, I know
so many other things.
Yeah, I know you're a clinical psychologist, but baby, you are preaching today, okay? You came to preach.
You got me started.
Do you have anywhere where people can follow you? Are you posting a lot of information, you know, advice online?
I am, yeah. I have my Instagram, which is at Dr. Molly Burrets, which is DrMollyBurrets. If you follow me there, you'll get a lot of content about these things that we've been talking about. And you'll also get information about my podcast that I'm launching in January, which I'm super excited for everyone to listen to.
Wait a second, can you tell us about that real quick?
Yeah,
because
before we
I
let
want
you
to learn
go.
more information myself.
Absolutely. So I'm launching a podcast. It's called Kissing Frogs. And the episodes are based on, I'm having guests of influence come on, sometimes celebrities come on, and talk about their relationships that failed. So beginning, middle, and end, what happened in retrospect in this relationship, and what have you learned about your life and your relationships now that's different as a result of having been in this relationship that didn't work out?
We've all kissed a frog or two. So, I mean, that's a good podcast to have. We have all kissed a frog or two.
So much. We appreciate your time. You're just a wealth of information.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, we hope to have you back soon. You've kissed a frog, right?
Oh, yeah, everyone has. That's why I'm like, that is the perfect name.
Yes, it is.
Good job, Dr. Molly.
Yeah, it's a very good name.
We're going to be switching gears here after the break. We're going to talk about a 20-mile horseback ride that's raising awareness for mental health for veterans. We're talking to BraveHearts coming up after this break.
Worried?
Alrighty, BraveHearts, the nation's leading equine-assisted services organization for veterans, will return on Friday for Trail to Zero, an annual 20-mile horseback ride to raise awareness for veteran mental health and suicide prevention. Well, joining us is going to be Amanda Bethards, with the U.S. Navy. First of all, thank you so much for your service. And then you also have a special guest with you. You have Winston. Thanks for joining us, you two.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for having us. Yeah, Winston's super excited to be here.
You know, Go ahead.
Okay, tell us about BraveHearts, and really, you're a veteran yourself, so how did you get involved in this?
Yes, ma'am. So BraveHearts is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we service military veterans with equine therapy. And we actually have the largest equine therapy program for military veterans in the nation.
Let's talk about Trail to Zero. How long has this been going on? I mean, in 20 miles, that's no joke, right?
No, ma'am, no joke. So BraveHearts started Trail to Zero's mission in 2017. And which actually is the same year I was introduced to BraveHearts. I actually got introduced in the grocery store here locally from another veteran, and came out and instantly found this to be my happy place. And then I got to do actually my very first Trail to Zero in Chicago in 2019. And I've been blessed to participate in about 10 other Trail to Zeros, but we'll be riding through Chicago here coming up this Saturday to raise awareness about ending veteran suicide. Still about 20 veterans take their own lives every day, and that's not a statistic that we're okay with.
Let's talk about, just thinking about that statistic that you brought up. I'm looking at Winston there, who is a part of all of this. How does this actual trail ride, how does this help really deal with those statistics and bring those statistics down?
Yes, ma'am. So horses are like a mirror, right? They can feel how we're feeling on the inside, sometimes before we're ready to actually admit that to ourselves or to anyone else. And so just being present and in the moment with these guys really helps regulate our heart rate, puts us right here, right now. We find that, especially for veterans that are combat oriented, to come back and to not have a purpose when they get home and when they get discharged, to be able to come out here and spend some time with a horse and make that connection. It's unlike any other connection that I've found. They really help me be right here, right now, and one day at a time, put one foot in front of the other, and that connection's unlike any other.
They really are special. With the event, it must be really cool also being able to ride a horse down, in downtown Chicago or some other city and get people's reaction.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, we were just in New York City. We rode through New York here 2 weekends ago, and to see the looks on people's faces, right? Some people that live in the city have never actually been that close to a horse. So to see just their faces light up is special enough. But the ride itself is heavy. I'm honored to be on each one along with all the other veterans that participate. But it's heavy because we carry the veterans that we've lost, that have lost that battle. We carry them with us. There's actually, you'll notice in some of those photos, there's ribbons with pins in our horses' manes. And those ribbons are the names of veterans that we've lost to suicide. And so we carry them with us, and that thought of no man left behind. So we carry them with us, and if we can just reach one veteran, that's our goal, just to reach one person and to let them know that horses heal, and horses can help, and there's a program out there that wants to help you. So that's our goal.
Winston is so calm and so really endearing, just looking at that face and those ears go up there. I wanted to ask you, when this run isn't happening, this is obviously a nonprofit organization. Can you talk about what BraveHeart does in the community when you're not doing the Trail to Zero, other programs that you have going on for veterans?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So BraveHearts actually consists of 3 locations in Illinois. So we're in Harvard, Poplar Grove, and then we just obtained our 3rd property in Rockford. We run 6 days a week year round, and we do equine therapy. So as a veteran, I get to come out to BraveHearts and ride twice a week, and it's all at no cost to the veteran. I get to have a family member ride with me if I so choose. And then we, other than just our veteran services, we do therapeutic riding. So that's any individual with the diagnoses, and hippotherapy, so speech, OT, PT. And we also have a mental health program. It's called EAP, or Equine Assisted Psychotherapy. So we have a team of mental health professionals, and that's also a service that's offered to our veterans, all at no cost. And it's incredible how many opportunities that BraveHearts provides for our veterans, and I've been blessed enough to take advantage of all of those. And so yeah, yes, ma'am. Any veteran in need or looking for the program, feel free to reach out to us. Our website is www.braveheartswriting.org, and we'd love to have you out.
I want to ask you a follow-up really quick, Amanda, because, you know, when I think about suicide, when I think about people being sometimes at their lowest, you know, it's really hard to pick yourself up, you know, literally. And so my question to you really is, how did you even find yourself there? How did you even pick yourself? I don't know your story, but how did you find yourself able to even pick up where you were to find yourselves there at BraveHearts?
It is. It's a struggle, right? Each of us here have our own story, and the great part is that there's no judgment here as far as you know, what branch of service or what your rank was, or were you combat oriented, or were you stateside. There's none of that. So the environment in general is very opening and welcoming, and it's a family. But one day at a time, you know, I took it as a sign. I was introduced, like I said, to the program right before Veterans Day in the grocery store, oddly enough. And I came out for a Veterans Day event, and just like I said, instantly, as soon as I walked in, I was like, I have to be a part of this. And so I've been here since then and been coming out, and I actually am a full-time employee now and oversee our volunteer program. But that's the biggest thing that we see is if we can get the veteran out to the farm, that makes all the difference, just to experience it for themselves.
Well, congratulations to you, and thank you for what you do. But that's kind of a follow-up too to that, actually getting them to the farm, because you hinted at it, like we know, like my own dad is, you know, a little bit too tough, or to get help, or even to think like, oh, I'm going to go ride a horse that'll make me feel better. What would you say to veterans at home who are hesitant and thinking, I don't need that, when it comes to this topic of conversation?
Yes, ma'am. So I challenge you not to think of it as therapy, for that matter, right? Not many of us are real big at going into the therapist's office and sitting down on the couch and talking about our problems. I'm in that same boat. You know, that's not something that I ever, you know, really tried or even thought about. But I get to come ride horses. I was like, okay, cool. I get to come ride horses and be with other veterans. And that's what got me out here. And I guess that would be my challenge is, you know, I challenge you guys to take a step outside your comfort zone. Come check us out. It doesn't have to be for everyone, but most people that get in here and make a connection with some of these horses, especially Winston here. We've got a Mustang program called Operation Mustang. So we've got wild Mustangs that we partner up our veterans with, which is a whole nother level of exciting. But it's pretty incredible. Give it a shot. You never know. Why not, right? What do you got to lose? Why not?
How long have you, I don't know if Winston is your horse or not, but just looking at the body language, it looks like it. How long have you been, I guess, accompanied? I don't even know what you would call that, because it almost looks like a family member as much as Winston is so calm around you. How long have you guys been together?
Yes, ma'am. So Winston is one of about 50 head of horses that we have between our 3 farms. That number fluctuates based on, you know, horses coming in and moving around and what we need. But I mean, I've been blessed enough to work with Winston probably since, well, 2017 on and off. On a regular basis. He's a big staple with a lot of our veteran groups. We have groups that come in from different veteran organizations around the area, and he is definitely a staple. He was awarded the Path International Horse of the Year back in 2017 as well. So he's a rock star. He's definitely a rock star, but he helps me stay calm. I have to check myself when I'm around him, because if I wasn't, he would let me know right now.
Yeah, he has a calm demeanor, and apparently likes the camera too.
Yeah,
because he stayed in that camera the entire time.
And he's gonna have to come right here between Tia
just
and I
chilling
during stressful interviews.
Yes, ma'am. Let us know. We'll come.
Well, you know, for people who are here in Chicago, they might be interested. You know, maybe they'll go down to Harvey and do the programming there. Do they usually come once a week, a couple times a week, once a month, or does it depend on the situation and what their availability is?
You know, it can depend on their availability. We try to really work with people's schedules. We understand that everybody's got lives outside of here, but BraveHearts does offer twice a week for veterans. So they're hour-long sessions twice a week that you're allowed to come out here. And again, it's at no cost. We've got programs, we've got a drill team, we've got drill teams. So I actually get to ride twice a week in lessons, but then I also am a part of a all women's drill team. So we have women veterans, and it's kind of like synchronized swimming that we do on horseback. We've got a co-ed drill team. We've got a mounted color guard. There's all kinds of opportunities for you to be out here really as often as you like. Like I mentioned, I run the volunteer program. Last year we had 578 volunteers donate over 28,000 hours. And so a lot of our veterans, they also give back, right? We started out and signed up for a life of service, and this program allows us to continue that.
Well, Amanda, you have been delightful. Winston, you are absolutely adorable. Real quick before we let you go, can you give people that are watching right now the website in case they want to learn more?
Yes, ma'am. If you go to braveheartsriding.org, www.braveheartsriding.org, we'd be happy to have you out to the farm for a tour. Like you mentioned, we'll be in Chicago this Saturday riding 20 miles with our veterans. So come check us out.
All right. And Amanda, people can donate there too, correct?
Yes, ma'am, they sure can. There's a tab on our website to donate. We greatly appreciate any support that we have. As we mentioned, all at no cost to our veterans. And so it's not free, but we definitely make it work, and it's so worth it to save a life.
Amanda, thank you for your service as well.
Thank you so much for your support, you guys.
Right. Thank you. Great to meet you. That was fun. Seeing little Winston and Amanda there.
So sweet. What a great surprise. Thank you. And yeah, we're going to have them come on Michigan Avenue, or maybe we'll stop by on Saturday to see the Trail to Zero. What a sight that would be.
Yeah, it would be. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this Hump Day edition of Chicago Now. We'll see you on, what do we call it, Friday Eve. We'll see you on Friday Eve. Have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at noon.
And now at noon, we have breaking news. A death investigation is underway after a disturbance at a suburban Chick-fil-A. What we know so far. President Trump demanding money now from his own Justice Department, while he says he's owed millions of dollars. And as we take a live look outside, Well, you'll notice it's a chillier start to this Wednesday morning. We'll have more in the forecast just ahead. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Natalie Bonpe. Sylvia is on assignment this morning. We are following breaking news out of Oswego. One person is dead and another hurt after what police are calling a